I had suddenly gained 50 pounds in
Oh,
menopause. Like, boom. I didn't change anything about my food. I changed nothing, and I gained 50 pounds because of the hormonal chaos. And that night, I tucked in bed and up popped intermittent fasting. But I didn't know that you could incorporate a daily pattern, a daily regimen of abstaining from nutrients and flavors and sweetness and so fasting hours, healing hours, and eating window hours. I didn't know you could live like that.
This is Doctor Talks.
all right, everyone, welcome back. We are joined today by Laurie Lewis. Thank you for coming here.
What a joy. Thank you.
It's going to be a joy because we're going to talk about, well, a few things. First of all, you're kind enough to open up and you're going to be telling us your story and how you got to where you are, which is awesome, but also a unique perspective on fasting and how to implement it and how it affects menopause, etc. I think it's something that people need to hear because not everyone's journey is the same, and yours got you to where you are. You look incredible. You look like health is not something you have to worry about, although it took work to get you there, right? So we're going to dive in and discover all that stuff, starting with, your own challenges and how you used during menopause, how you use fasting to sort of turn that around. So maybe dive into us and tell us about that.
I love this conversation with you. Thank you, Kashif. I imagine being a grown woman, 54 years old, in your mother's kitchen, throwing a complete temper tantrum like you were 5 years old, losing your mind. That
Yeah.
was me. And what caused this meltdown at the age of 54 is I had been really struggling with perimenopause and menopause, pushed me down a dark hole for about 10 years.
Mhm.
But they don't send us to biology class for older women, so we don't know what's happening. Don't
Yeah.
put the dots together, right? And so there I was after 10 years of struggle, and I went home to Colorado where I grew up. I was in my mom's house. I had suddenly gained 50 pounds in
Wow.
menopause. Like, boom. I didn't change anything about my food. So I've been a healthy eater since I was in my late 20s, studying nutrition. It's my personal passion. I changed nothing, and I gained 50 pounds because of the hormonal chaos of perimenopause and menopause. And my mom said, let's use this time that you're home to turn the weight around.
Mm.
And I lost it. My daughter ears did not hear that as helpful. Okay. So I had my wailing and foot stomping, and she was such a loving mom. She's passed, but since then, that was 6 years ago. And she listened and she said, let's pray for an answer. Because I was telling her I had tried everything, not only to lose 50 pounds, but to feel better. I had brain fog and memory loss. I was aching, had just like every joint, every muscle was hurting from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. And that night, I tucked in bed, and we all know we shouldn't get on our phones or our computers in bed. We should turn the lights off. But I Googled the same thing I always had, which was something like menopausal, hormonal, stubborn fat, help me. And up popped intermittent fasting. Now, I've been studying nutrition for since my late 20s, and I knew about long-term therapeutic fasting, but I didn't know that you could incorporate a daily pattern, a daily regimen of abstaining from nutrients and flavors and sweetness and so forth. So fasting hours, healing hours, and eating window hours.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could live like that. So I stayed up all night studying it, and it just made perfect sense to me. And I went downstairs in the morning and I said to my mom, thank you. I think I found an answer. And she inquired and she said, that makes perfect sense. How may I support you? And that was the first day 6 years ago where I had an eating window, and I've never missed a day. And I love that I've never missed a day, because then people can see as an example that you can either in the evening, when you close your eating window, look ahead and decide when is your eating window going to be tomorrow, or when you wake up in the morning, you can see what the day holds. Some
Mm.
people love having it the same every day. Some people love moving it around. It's all customized. So every day for 6 years. And so, quickly, two aspects of that I think are really important. It took 15 months to lose 51 pounds. I didn't change anything about my food. I
Mm.
only incorporated intermittent fasting. And 15 months of healing and repair and fat burning and being in ketosis and autophagy and all the great healing that happens. But the most amazing thing was that I felt better in 3 days.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.
I was standing in that same place in her kitchen, and all of a sudden I had the thought, there I am. There I am. It was I was suddenly clear again. I was grounded. I felt like myself. I was back in my body. I didn't feel anymore like I'd been abducted by some sort of alien and that the alien disappeared. I've never quite said it like that
Yeah.
before, but I was myself, and that was very motivating.
It's truly awesome, and it really paints a picture to how close we are to good health. You feel horrible, and this thing that you think you have, whether it's fibromyalgia, endometriosis, or rocky menopause, and if in 3 days you can start to feel amazing, that's how close to good health we actually are if we start to have the right habits, right? I just need to lean in that direction a little bit. And you proved it yourself. You don't hear that very often, but that's if you start doing things right, you can unwind it pretty quick. So I guess that speaks to like what's the driver? Is it a metabolic issue? Like why is it that all of a sudden this one thing, wow, everything's alleviated, comes crashing down and you feel amazing?
Well, that is a big question. What's
Yeah.
the driver? We're a very complex system. And I also hear in your response to me and in your question the importance of mindset.
Yeah.
Everything you just said was so hopeful. And so, if a person holds, ooh, just feel emotional. If a person can hold that it's so close, their
Yeah.
body, I have this dream that each person develops, every human, that it become part of our way of being human,
Yeah.
that we develop a reverence, a communion, a beautiful partnership with our body, and that human beings would never dream of saying, I hate my body or my body is my enemy. It's like, no, we're so close. And so what are the most important aspects of this complex system for balancing those hormones and, getting the fat off our liver and healing the gut and inflammation? Like, one of the wild things that happened for me was within 3 to 4 months. It was somewhere like September-ish. I noticed that my debilitating plantar fasciitis had disappeared that I'd had for 10 years. I didn't wake
Wow.
up in pain anymore. So I book that helped me a lot was Dr. Ben Bickman's book, Why We Get Sick. And the premise of his book is that the underlying, you keep getting lower, digging deeper, deeper, deeper. The underlying cause of all metabolic diseases are high circulating insulin and
Yeah.
high inflammation. And strangely enough, those are tests that they do not include in our conventional lab work here in the US. Like, you have to beg for fasting insulin and for the inflammation tests, CRP and ESR and so forth. What's amazing is, you see all sorts of articles about lowering inflammation with this food and that food. And step one, my people, start fasting clean and have an eating window, and inflammation's going to come down. You're going to lower your circulating insulin, which will then affect your blood sugar. And I think one of the things that people get concerned about is elevated cortisol, because we live in very stressful, fast-paced times and people are sleep deprived, and they're worried about, yet one more thing
Mm.
raising cortisol. Well, if you're discovering for yourself a fasting rhythm, a fasting sweet spot, an eating window that works for your goals, your body, your life, your family, your work commute, your fitness, that feels delicious to the body. That is not a stressor at all. There is a moment where you'll have a hunger wave and you just ride it on out and you're burning fat and suddenly you're not hungry anymore and you open your eating window later. So this idea that fasting is a stressor, I tend to disagree, because I coach my people to have it be yummy for you and your life and something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way you coach it where it doesn't have to be so rigid, and regimented, like here's what you have to do, but I don't feel like that today, right? And I have to work out today, or I didn't sleep properly today, or whatever. And just to understand that that window is the key, right? That timing is, and it can be adjusted. I feel the same. Like there's days where I know I can fast longer. When I work out, I lose my hunger, right? I start training, so I'll try and work out later in the day to be able to extend my fast, because it's one tool that allows me to keep going. You would think that's counterintuitive, like, oh, you need food to work out. No, there's plenty. I still have a little bit of a tire here, so there's plenty of
None of us are zero fat. We have
yeah,
plenty to burn.
yeah,
And so I suspect that maybe then the next day you're hungrier in your eating window. Do you feel like you need more
for
food
sure. If it's a
the
big
next day?
workout,
Yeah.
if it's a big now, if I do this consistently, right? If I do it for like 30 days straight, it becomes routine, and I don't even have an appetite, right? It's like, but I'm also using minerals and other things. But that being said,
Yes.
for sure, in a regular week, yeah, I'll get hungrier. Like today, for example, you know, yesterday I ate late, did a big workout, so I'm hungry. And you said something in there, little nuanced thing. I don't know if people caught it, but you said fasting clean.
Yeah.
And that was a very purposeful word you used. So what do you mean?
It is a purposeful word and concept. So fasting clean, the idea was coined by Jen Stevens, who her first book was called Delay, Don't Deny, and it was a runaway hit because it felt like reading an informative book by a smart friend.
Right.
And then her next book was called Fast, Feast, Repeat. It was a New York Times bestseller. And Jen's idea of fasting clean is really that's a purest fast. That's actually fasting. But we have to differentiate between fasting clean and fasting with eating things or taking in nutrients or flavors, because you can find anything on the internet to give you approval to do whatever you want.
Hmm.
So the clean fast requires a bit more, dare I say, rigidity during the fasting hours. But then this idea of her first book, which is delay, don't deny, you're eating the foods that you love later in your eating window. So save the nutrients, save the flavor party. People are like, but that lemon in the water is just going to get me through. I'm losing my mind. Okay. That's really just during the adjustment phase, is that people are getting
Yeah.
bored or antsy, or they're not used to having no flavors in their mouth. They want to be entertained by flavor. It's like, oh, well, that's just interesting to notice, isn't it? So save the flavor party till later. Now, why would fasting clean, and I'll say what it is, plain unflavored water, plain unflavored black coffee, plain unflavored bitter black or green tea, not with lemongrass and ginger and all the all the things.
Hmm.
Plain unflavored minerals, so electrolytes, magnesium, sodium, and then your prescriptions, your medications as prescribed by your doctor. So again, plain water, plain unflavored is the theme
Hmm.
here. Now, why would we do that? It's counterintuitive. It actually makes fasting easier. When we take in food flavors, whether it's lemon or cucumber, then the body is anticipating incoming food. It aligns to receive. It's like a little taste of lemon. The body's like, woohoo, you're going to feed me. And it aligns to receive that food. Hormonally, digestive tract is revving up, ready to go. And you don't feed it because you think you're fasting. The body gets grumpy. That makes fasting harder. So make it easier on yourself. Plain unflavored water, plain unflavored black coffee, plain unflavored bitter black or green tea. Then the other thing is we want all the healing benefits of the fasting hours. So we want to put our body into a full digestive rest. We want to go through the glucose and glycogen and shift into fat burning and be metabolically flexible and become fat adapted and go into ketosis and fueling our brain on ketones and this nice, bright, clear, clean energy. We want a deep cellular repair of autophagy. We
Hmm.
want to boost human growth hormone. We want all the healing. We want our body to be addressing cancer cells. We want our body to be reducing inflammation and boosting immunity and healing our gut lining. So fasting clean is very simple. It allows for all that deep healing. And then we get to eat the yummy foods that make us feel really well, that we're anticipating, which is very exciting for the human chemical makeup. Like human beings are happier who who can wait later for gratification, who are
Yeah.
able to delay gratification. There's been enough studies, scientific studies and research on human beings being happier who know how to delay gratification. And that comes, eating later is makes for
They're
happy people.
they're ultimately, I mean, people don't realize it, but they're the same things. You're giving up pleasure, but you're getting a sense of reward for achieving giving it up. And both of those things are a dopamine hit. They're both satisfaction.
That's right.
So in the sense of satisfaction from the reward is much more satisfying than pleasure. Pleasure, you need more and more and more. There is no satisfaction in pleasure, right? And so I
Mhm.
think you can replace the pleasure with reward, and
Yeah,
that's what you're describing.
that's right. And it's really win-win. It's really a scenario where, like you said, you kind of get to have it all. But in very short order, usually within 2 weeks, my clients are saying, wait a sec, I feel better when I'm fasting. Fasting isn't the problem. It's the eating window that becomes challenging for people. I've found, Kashif, that within the first few weeks of people taking on a clean fasting and eating window schedule, that they say right away, really within the first 2 weeks, that the fasting hours are not a problem. They really like it actually. And then the eating window becomes their issue where they're like trying to figure out what foods are satisfying. I'm eating too quickly, or how do I get enough nutrients? And so once the fasting becomes your daily practice, which is pretty quick,
Yeah.
people realize how well they feel, then we can focus on the food. I do it a little backwards than many doctors and coaches. Many say that you need to get the food sorted and then start the fasting. And I could not disagree more with that. I feel like the easiest thing for people to do is to look at their life and decide when they're closing their eating window this evening. What time are you going to stop eating? And then you'll drink plain water after that. And then you'll go to sleep and you'll wake up tomorrow and you'll drink plain water. And if you like coffee, have a black coffee. You won't die. And then later, open your eating window whenever feels right for you. And then you're gradually going to shrink those eating window hours and gradually extend the fasting hours. And people discover very quickly how well they feel. It's just so motivating for people to be able to stop, especially women over 44 is kind of the cutoff for me. As I say, I help women aged 44 to forever. We all want to stop this street brawl with the cravings and the hormones. And the best way to do that is start establishing a clean fasting regimen. And then we get to sort out the food together.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I've seen that where the habit formation is like the structure is important versus like here frantically thinking about the food and what I'm going to eat, what I'm not going to eat. When the structure is innate, it makes everything easier because you start thinking that way, and then you're thinking about your food cleaner. Because you've got this habit, you've changed the way you approach your food. You're not going to shove a bunch of cookies down your throat because there's limited time to get what you actually need in, right? And once you get it in, you're full quicker. The satiety hits faster. You mentioned something earlier about, when it comes to eating clean, and a kind of light bulb went off because I didn't realize and think about it that all these people would be adding flavors and things that are not necessarily calories, but just to feel good, right? And to feel
Yes,
satisfied. And the body is very intelligent. So even just tasting something sweet will trigger an insulin response. You don't actually have to have sugar in your blood. Your
that's right.
Yeah, the genes start expressing and insulin is triggered, and that leads to where's the food? I'm hungry, and it screws up your whole fast. And I literally never even thought about that until you just brought it up right now. But is it the same? Do you also say nothing salty? Because I know some people will take like literally like mineral salts and like lick it to keep themselves going.
No, salt is different. If people are taking in a very high quality, natural, not over processed table salt in the blue
Yeah.
container. As if it's a real good salt. I don't believe in taking in too much salt, but when insulin is low, especially for new fasters, when insulin is low, the kidneys tend to dump magnesium and sodium. So the other piece of plain unflavored water, plain unflavored black coffee, if you like coffee, tea, if you like tea, but real actual tea leaves, not mint or chamomile. And then the fourth element there are minerals. So
Right.
magnesium, sodium. I find that a lot of people do become reliant on that sodium, just like it's another trigger thing, like an entertainment. We have been conditioned in our society to use food to resolve all of our emotions: anger, fear, resentment, hurt, boredom, the feeling like we need a break, we deserve, And so even then, shifting, even if a person is keeping an eating window and delaying their eating until later, I encourage people, and this is part of my coaching too, that people start to notice what they're using for comfort. And so I also don't believe in licking too much salt while you're fasting. The other thing that people talk about a lot is putting fat in their coffee, and that
Yeah.
could possibly be part of fasting. It's like, come on, people, we're
Yeah.
all smart here. Just think of it this way. People are like, oh, but the fat in my coffee gives me this nice sustained energy all morning, and then I can eat later and it's no problem. But wouldn't you rather burn the fat on your belly than the fat in your coffee cup? If you're utilizing fat as an energy source to give you a nice, beautiful, sustained energy until you eat later, wouldn't you want that fat to be on your body?
Yeah.
Yes, I do not want the fat in my coffee cup. I want my body burning my own fat. And so now, for all these years, I've been at my ideal weight. I'm fueling on fat, most of my own body fat most of the time. I'm 60 years old, and I have had my biological age tested, and I'm the biological age of a 40-year-old.
Oh.
And I'm working to make that younger, which is not because I'm chasing youth, but because I'm very interested in my deep cellular health, that my mitochondria and the telomeres. And I am very interested in this idea of longevity for people. It's, all the rage. But what I've discovered pretty quickly is that people, normal people like you and I, we just actually want to feel better. Like at the top of our
Mm.
conversation, you were saying we're so close. We get so close to good health. We're so close to feeling well. And people want to wake up in the morning rested and look at the day ahead and have no aches and pains and fatigue in their body and be sharp and clear and get through it and be able to sit on the floor and stand back up again and feel flexibility in their body and strength and stamina. That's
Mm.
what people want.
Yeah.
And so that is the most important thing to me, is that people keep an eating window and look for ways throughout the day and throughout their life to take really good care of themselves, so that no matter what is happening in life, whether it's good times or bad, you're a person who naturally takes really good care of yourself no matter what's happening in life. That is really important to me.
Yeah. And there's from listening to you, I mean, there's so many benefits to fasting. And if you don't understand all of them, then you may think it's okay to adopt some habits that you shouldn't. For example, if you don't understand that it's not only about autophagy and killing off cancer cells, whatever, but it's also about burning your fat. If you knew that, then you wouldn't eat fat, right? So there's the whole list of benefits. So understand those will help you understand the habits. Now, there's a famous Laurie Lewis quote. Yeah.
I have a few.
I'm going to read it word for word, and you're going to explain why this is not a typo, but this is for real. You said intermittent fasting isn't a diet, it's a quiet.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, let's start with, all of human history and evolution and so forth. Survived, thrived as a species by having no food. Human beings get stronger, brighter, clearer in a fasted state. And if we, in fact, got tired and lethargic and couldn't move, we would not have had the strength to go out and find food. So the opposite is true. We get stronger and clearer. It's also been part of all spiritual, religious meditation traditions as far back as recorded history, that prayer and fasting, why would those two things go together? Because fasting actually creates an environment, emotional, cognitive, physical, spiritual environment, where we can connect more clearly to, you could say, to what your body's telling you. You could say to what the divine is communicating to you. People can interpret that however they please. But what is very real for people when they're fasting is it gets quiet. The noise gets quiet. You can actually start communing with your body in a way that it is in the driver's seat. So with dieting and following a list of what you should and shouldn't eat and eating little amounts of food all the time and never feeling completely satisfied and getting on the scale every day and this frantic, like, am I doing it right? And I must be doing it wrong and it's not working. All that noise gets really quiet when you're fasting clean and eating later and tuning inward, all this noise of like, how am I doing? How am I doing? Is it working? Is it working? Well, how do you feel? And people start feeling better and better, and the noise goes away. And it's amazing in my coaching calls because people will come to me with a new curiosity. It's like, oh, where'd that come from? Now, if it's from their friend or the news, that's interesting to note. That's an external. But when a new curiosity arises, like, I wonder if I should eat more of fill in the blank, or I wonder if now I should really start reducing alcohol or sugar, or I wonder if I should sign up for a Pilates class. Oh, where'd that come from? That came from the quiet. And so to diminish the outside noise and increase the inner communion is part of what happens when a person fasts clean and keeps an eating window. And you learn to trust yourself and you learn to trust your own body. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it truly is a beautiful thing. And you just put the two and two together for me because I've always fasted, but not as consistently as I have been in the last sort of year and a half. And there's a definite spiritual change. I didn't put the two together. And I think it's pretty clear that when you make that shift from pleasure to reward, and you make that shift from, like, you know, reactive and call it impulsive to very purposeful and caring for yourself and saying no to something that you really could enjoy, right? And enjoying the no more, saying no more, that gives you more satisfaction,
Mhm.
completely changes the way your brain's wired. And our brains are always rewiring themselves. So neuroplasticity is a constant, and you're developing new neural pathways and you think differently, you become a different version of yourself. But what you just said makes it so much more clear why I feel the way I feel. And I don't have a menopause problem. That's why we're not what we're talking about. But I definitely feel what you're saying, which is like get rid of all that noise. Imagine your cells, the mitochondria, the DNA, these are communication tools. They're not just what we think they are. They literally
That's right.
communicate internally, externally. And if they're constantly burdened with metabolic mess and you're eating 3, 4 times a day and you're not eating the right stuff, so it's burdensome in that regard also, then how are you communicating? Not only externally, but even internally, right? So clean that up and give your chance to breathe. And, the cells can start thriving and communicating properly. I feel it. I feel exactly what you just described. So now, but you put it into words, which allowed it to make sense for me, which is awesome.
I love that. And let's call it a menopause awakening instead of
Yeah.
issue. It is an issue. And it really can be an awakening. It's something new for a woman to experience, and every woman experiences it differently for different amounts of time and years and, certain degrees of how it affects them. But it really is a pleasure to be able to help people get this noise quiet, because what I'm listening for is where's the struggle, stress, or strain, mentally, emotionally, physically? And wherever there's a struggle, stress, or strain, we're going to make it better. And then that allows, as I said, this quiet. There's a Dr. Bert Herring coined the phrase appetite correction, which is one of the aspects of when you're fasting clean and have an eating window. It's a different length of time for everybody that appetite correction kicks in. But what appetite correction is kind of, again, this quiet discernment of the body's very smart. We're like a wild animal. A lion knows how much to eat and when to stop eating, even if the carcass of the animal they just killed isn't finish. They don't lick the whole thing clean because their body's like, I'm done. And our body can do that too. It's just with the constant eating and with the ultra processed food, our body has lost that communication. So with daily clean fasting, we can then start getting the messages from our body that you can stop eating now. I've had enough now. People wonder, when they're new intermittent fasters, how do I know how much to eat? It's all right. Just eat normally in your eating window. What's normally? Eat what you normally eat.
Yep.
And then over time, usually a few weeks, sometimes a few months for people, the body starts saying, stop now. So appetite correction affects us in two basic, simplify it, two ways. The first is the quantity of food. And so you want to slow down and eat mindfully and pay attention to when hunger is gone and stop eating when hunger is gone and your body feels satisfied. And the second aspect is the quality of food. Your body starts saying broccoli, Brussels sprouts, salmon, as opposed to, chips and crackers and fruity sweet yogurt and so forth.
Yeah.
So the quality of food, that quiet, you can actually hear your body say, stop now, eat more, eat this, not interested in that. The way it shows up is, let's say you're going to a restaurant you used to go to whenever you go there, you order your favorite thing. You haven't been in a while and now you're an intermittent faster and you get there, you don't even need to look at the menu, but all of a sudden you're kind of like, I don't think I want that thing that I always get when I come here. Huh. Then you look at the menu and your body's going, not that, not that, not that, that. That is what it's interested in. So it's starting to tell you what it's interested in and not interested in. And so then your friends might be like, "Oh, you're trying to be good." It's like, "No, I'm not trying to be good. This isn't a diet. I'm tuning into my body. This is not about being good. It's about feeling good. And my body just told me what it wants me to eat, so that's what I'm eating. That sounds delicious." So it's a
Yeah.
subtle shift, could be an obvious shift between diet culture, diet mindset, diet brain, which is all about being good and I'm trying to be good and that food is bad. If I eat it, I'm bad. I fell off the wagon. No, that's more of the noise. There's just this quiet.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And yeah, I've also experienced that. I feel like this is a therapy session for me. You know,
Great. Yay. Tell
unpacking
me
all of
more. Tell me more.
you actually work with thousands of women now. So is there a context or a problem that you've been trying to solve where this doesn't work? Or is it like all the time this has been the one thing like, wow, this changed my life?
When I meet people newly and they're like, oh, they either know someone who's intermittent fasted. They're like, oh, they had, so and so. They say, or they say, oh, I tried that. I never felt better. I'm like, oh, what happened? You're not doing it anymore. And, they took a trip or had a crisis in their family. They're like, I never got back to it. Or they say, I tried that. It didn't work for me. I want to talk to all those people, but I'm especially curious about the people who say it didn't work for them. So I want to know, were they fasting clean? I want to know how long they tried it for. Did they even get through the adjustment phase? I want to know what working means. Were you
Yeah,
just looking at the scale? Like
yeah,
how
exactly.
many hours? Like sometimes people are like fasting, they have a lot of weight to lose or health to turn around, and they're having a 10-hour eating window. Okay, well, that's a great place to start, but we got to shrink that eating window if you've got to turn around some health stuff. Or conversely, people will say, yeah, I did it for 2.5 weeks. I had a 1-hour eating window. I'm like, Lord have mercy. That's like, maybe you needed a longer eating window. So
Yeah.
I really want to dig in and figure out what you were doing. Were you fasting clean? What was your pattern? How long were you doing it? What medication are you on? What's your fitness? The whole big picture. To answer your question, it's most challenging for people to take very good care of themselves every day when they're addicted to ultra processed food and refined sugar. That it becomes the biggest challenge because that addiction's a really strong word. But when something's got its claws in you, when you have the thought that it would be a very sad or impossible life without that thing, that's really something to take a look at. Fasting clean and keeping an eating window helps a person with a stability. Once we find that, you know, clean fasting, I'm curious, and customization, and then we're in the continuing phase. And then we've got to look at all the other aspects of health, whether it's sleep or hydration or movement or food quality, meditation, quiet time, time in nature, reducing stress. And the biggest issue seems to be shifting towards real whole foods and away from refined sugars and ultra processed food, because it's pretending to be our friend. It's pretending to make us feel better in the moment. It's pretending to solve a problem of I'm so busy and rushed and I just gotta eat something. So
Mm.
it's that. And I don't demonize food. I just want people to start to consider that that isn't food.
Yeah. I demonize food. I don't mind.
Well,
I
I
think the
think it
wrong the things that shouldn't be called food. Let's say that.
Yeah, it can make me kinda mad too. It's the trickery involved in it, right?
Yeah.
The whole aisle of energy bars in the grocery store, it's like, I don't know if you ever noticed, but I have a anecdotal evidence that when people eat energy bars, they are ravenously hungry an hour later for more ultra-processed food. Energy bars are ultra-processed food. Shake powders are ultra-processed food, so we gotta be very discerning about the quality of those foods if we choose them, because they are not the same as an orange or an apple or a sweet potato or a steak. So I just am really committed to people feeling better and feeling in control of their choices. And what gets in the way of, people come to intermittent fasting usually first and foremost for weight loss. And so you ask, like, does this work for everyone? For sure, everyone will feel better. For
Mhm.
sure, your health markers, if people are testing for fasting insulin and inflammation, but then your AST and ALT and A1C and fasting blood glucose, and your HDL will go up and your triglycerides will come down. Like those numbers for sure will be affected. And still, some people, especially women in menopause, experience weight loss resistance. And so then we absolutely, in a gentle, consistent way, need to have a daily investigation of what's happening in your body that it's not feeling 100% comfortable yet,
Yeah.
releasing this excess fat. And there's nothing wrong with people being whatever size they are. What's not awesome is feeling like a person is struggling to move and feels weighed down and lethargic. And we want I want people feeling really good in their bodies. So
Mm.
sometimes that takes a lot of time.
And the work you do, somebody that's listening that wants to work with you, is it strictly around women that are in menopause, or is it anybody that wants sort of help with fasting?
It's interesting. I would say 5% of my clients are men. Most of them are dealing with a serious health concern, turning around, dealing with cancer or turning around type 2 diabetes or hypertension. And most of my women clients are over 50. I'm realizing more and more that more younger women, I say younger women, 39 to 50, are finding me because the confusion and for many women, how upsetting it is that their bodies they feel out of control. And the checklist of issues that a woman can face in perimenopause is long, and
Mm.
we don't necessarily connect the dots. We just know we don't feel like ourselves and what the heck is happening. And then I don't know any doctors who were trained in menopause in medical school. Our OBGYNs are mostly trained in fertility, and the menopause is just treated as a condition you got to get through. I always joke with people. I'm like, yeah, erectile dysfunction is also a condition that people throw a lot of money and energy towards. So let's pay more attention to what women are going through as they are shifting in these transition years into
Yeah,
what Dr. Luann Brizendine calls the upgrade.
it is. It's just another phase, and it was taken for granted that it's supposed to be problematic when it doesn't have to be.
It
That
doesn't.
our we have this shift is happening in an environment and food context and stress context that isn't what we are wired for. So then it becomes a roller coaster. So you have to understand what those habits are supposed to look like, what you're supposed to eat, how you're supposed to sleep, what chemicals you're not supposed to breathe in, what pills you're not supposed to take. And then all of a sudden you can feel good, and that's amazing. The work that you're doing helps people with that. So how do people find you if they want to sort of, are you working with any more new people? Or
Oh
you're,
my
yeah,
goodness, yes. Oh, I just have I have clients around the world in Kuwait and New Zealand and Japan and the UK
amazing.
and the US and Canada. My business is called Fast Forward, and my website is fastforwardwellness.com, and people can go there and poke around, and you can sign up for a checklist if you're like, "Wait, how do I start again?" So it's check, 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 check. Step 1 is decide today what time you're closing your eating window. What time's the best time? No, whenever you want. It's like you get
Yeah,
to say. And so you can download that checklist. It's fastforwardwellness.com. And I love it when people write to me there. So if you have a
yeah,
question or if you want to set up a free little consultation, if you're like, oh, I like your style, I think you could help me, I would be glad to talk to you and I would be glad to help people. And then I really work with people for a year. We can establish a foundation within 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah,
But then it is that fourth pillar of my coaching, which is the clean fast, curiosity, customization, and then continuing. It's the continuing that, and it's all done in a spirit of celebration and care.
yeah.
And
That's so important because that is where people fall off. It's like, okay, here's some information, here's what to do, but are you actually going to do it? Unlikely. And this is what healthcare should be. It's not so much, okay, I met you and I told you some stuff. Now I'll see you in 6 months. It's no, we need to work together for 6 months as a minimum, because how do you unwind 45, 50 years of habits in a phone call?
oh,
Yeah,
it's
that's,
impossible. We
yeah.
are an animal, if you will, that's designed for community, and we do better together. We
Mm,
really are better when we're sharing and uplifting. One of the downsides of being together is comparison. So it's just that can make us feel awful about ourselves. But when we're in an uplifting community, if I had $1 for every time I heard someone say, I know exactly what to do, I just have to do it alone, right?
yeah,
Like I just got to get it together alone and
yeah,
then I know exactly what to do, I just have to do it. No, no, no. Well, I'm here for you. you
yeah.
know? And so one of the great things is I'm going to be leading my holiday program. I started my business 5 years ago, and this will be my sixth holiday program, coaching a group of people through, I say Halloween candy to New Year's bubbly, really enjoying the holidays, not beating yourself up, having fasting clean, having an eating window, eating and drinking the yummy things that feel festive to you, and never dieting again in January. So I
Mm,
always start planning my holiday program months and months and months in advance because I really look forward to supporting people through that time.
very cool. Well, this is awesome. Great conversation. You opened my eyes to a couple things, and I'm sure people are going to value this because we did a lot to talk about menopause and about fasting, but we didn't put it into context, which you did for us today, which is amazing. So I want to thank you, and I think everyone should check out the website and see what you're up to, and you use that checklist. Thank you for providing that. So it was a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Such a joy.
Thank you for tuning in to Dr. Talks. We hope today's episode has enlightened and inspired you on your path to optimal health. Each day is a new opportunity to make choices that empower your well-being. For more insights and strategies, subscribe to our podcast and visit our website, www.drtalks.com. Stay connected, stay healthy, and join us next time on Dr. Talks. Real talks from real doctors on the issues that matter to you most.